Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Tintinabulation, authored by Sajid Qureshi. It's a novella of mystery, love, and horror. This novella contains 4 chapters: The Mysterious Lady, Reminiscing the Past, the Therapy Sessions, and the Faith Healer. Before we begin the first chapter, The Mysterious Lady, let's go through its blurb. Sam, an investigating journalist who had always been in a pursuit of interesting stories for his magazine, was appalled when he ran into his lost, unrequited love. Being a silent bird of fondness, which had shriveled up before it could blossom, it won a silver lining again to bloom into a jewel. The condition of his beloved was inexplicable, as her demeanor was exotic. Whether she was suffering from psychosis or was in a paranormal relationship. Come what may, Sam was committed to bring Jennifer back to normality. Now, the first chapter of Tintinabulation, The Mysterious Lady. Tintinabulation kept ringing in her delicate and well-suited ears. It was not a morning or a day. It was past midnight. Lying in her bed, she had been craving for a slumber, which seemed unattainable. Frequent tossing and turning did not soothe her. The sound was heard again. She mulled over to get to her feet to follow the rhythm. But an intuition, rising with her soul, hampered her advancement forcefully. She gazed at the ceiling. All its corners and sides were almost obliterated with cobwebs. The old paint had peeled off, giving it the look of an antique world and patches. The only ceiling fan, with 2 of its bent blades, was spinning with much hardship like an old, feeble, ailing ox circling around a well. At a corner stood was a pedestal fan that had refused to function long back. Jennifer heard the jingle again, and unlike before, it was not from a distance. It seemed that the source was under her bed. Being solely alone in such an extra capacious dwelling, she did not dare to push her head down the bed to have a glance. Things were getting formidable gradually. The darkness was evident. The silence was audible. The horror prevalent. The dreadfulness was rampant, and she was susceptible. Out of the blue, with a flash, but with no more tintinabulation, no jingling, no tinkling, a ray of greyish, hazy smoke wriggled in the room. It boogied, bopped, hopped, hovered, and then making a jamboree, halted at her feet. You want to break with me? No way. You are always at my disposal. The indistinct, hazy entity blurted. You are mine, always. So what if we don't share the same creature? Jennifer burst into shuddering, quivering, and scary fright. A shiver ran down her spine. Warm phlegm gathered in her throat. She swallowed and pushed it down. She felt her eyelids blink over her stares. Her consciousness fell in the momentary darkness. Her gestures were dead. Her lips were seized. Her mouth turned mute. Her eyes shut. She kept mum. The traumatized lady fell in a light trance. In no time, without waiting for a reply, the Barak made his way through her ears inside her body. This gave her some sudden jerking moments, like a slaughtered fowl writhes and twists before its soul is departed. Her face turned pale and jaw stiff, and then she began long-lasting, intermittent yelling and moaning. Next morning saw another scorching sun. A number of local inhabitants had gathered outside her house. They were her neighbors and had come out of their houses when heard shrilling shrieks in the dead stillness of the night. It's 2:00 in the morning. We don't know what's wrong with this lady. Loud cries and strange noises are heard often at night, a middle-aged man complained. Yeah, rude is an understatement. My wife and I woke up twice. Can you believe the nerve of this lady? We couldn't go back to sleep, another man angered. I mean, wailing and moaning in the middle of the night, I almost called the police. This time it was an adult. Is someone torturing that woman in the middle of the night? Sam, a young man who shifted in this locality recently, was intrigued. No, she's all alone and she has been suffering from epilepsy. That must be causing her severe pain, and she yells. This happens always at midnight. A sophisticatedly intellectual, elderly looking man shared. Why doesn't she get herself cured? What's her name? How old is she? Does she live alone? Where are her family members? Sam bombarded with an array of questions. Jenny, this is what her mother called her. Her name is Jennifer D'Souza. She is around 30. She has no children. Her husband had divorced her just within a few years of their marriage. Her only companion was her widow mother before she had passed away last year. Since then, she has been living in this house alone, faltered an elderly man whose words mixed with coughing. Oh, I see. Sam raised his eyebrows with astonishment. Sam was a tall, well-built man of 32. He had a creamy complexion. His hair was wavy but not much thick. His brown eyes, blind spectacles, were always thirsty for something new. He wore slim and light mustaches. His inquisitive and curious nature and keen interest made him develop a career in journalism. Soon after his post-graduation, he was taken on by a local magazine, The Sunshine, to render his services as an investigating reporter. Sam looked exceptionally interested in all such talks, which entail enigma, since he had always been an anxious soul to unravel a mystery to make an interesting story for his magazine. He wanted to learn more about Jennifer. Thus, he deliberated to catch up with her, to look into the matter as why the lady had not been acting normally. Throughout the day, he immersed himself into planning how he could collect data for an interesting factual story and how and when to begin. At one moment, he thought to share it with his childhood friend and colleague Michael, but then, considering his full credit, he dropped the idea. However, he kept it in the back of his mind, just in case he needs some advice. The day and the night passed with no more noises. Next morning, Sam took a stroll around the house. Nothing unusual occurred. While walking past her house, he halted in front of the gate. Gazing at the doorbell, he had the nerve and pressed his right index finger on it. There was no chime. He tried again, but no success again. I think the doorbell is out of order, he muttered to himself. He then began pounding at the black iron door, loud enough to be heard clearly. I hear, yeah, okay, a glimmering feminine voice was heard. This brought a promising grin on his face. In a while, a faint movement inside was heard. He heard the shuffling that kept getting nearer and nearer and nearer. And then he heard a creak. The gate sluggishly opened. In front of her, standing, was a pale-faced, with sunken, rheumy eyes, sickly-looking lady with disheveled hair and in unkempt, casual outfit. Seemed formerly beautiful, although attractive currently. On her feet were worn-out flip-flops. She looked very deep and complex. On a close examination, Sam recognized her as his schoolmate. She was the same Jennifer he used to crave for a talk, for a walk, for a romantic time to spend with. Without uttering a word, with an interrogative facial expression, he asked him who he was and what he wanted. I am your neighbor, and I thought to ask you if you need some help, he stuttered. The so-called paranormal lady gestured him to enter. She slammed the gate on her behind and asked him with her right index finger to follow her. He did so. The moment Sam entered the house, a wave of unknown fear ran through his spine. He felt nauseous with the exotic smell of the year, as if the ground had been unearthed and a burial ritual was to be taken place. They went into an old, worn-out, painted room with cobwebs at every corner of the ceiling. It seemed to have been a long time since it was taken care of. With her left hand, and without uttering a word again, she gestured him to sit on a chair. whose seat was covered with a thick layer of dust. He rubbed it with his left middle index finger, looked at it, but then sat on it. Facing him, the lady perched on her bed in front of him. Do you remember me? I am Sam, Standard 9A, and you, Jennifer D'Souza, Standard 10B, Woodstock School, right? Oh, really? Sorry, I didn't recognize you. Maybe because the life has beaten me down. Things have affected me too much, pushed me back, drained the light from my chest until it's hollow now. Jennifer looked extremely gloomy. I know that there will always be things that hit you hard, but setbacks are inevitable in life. They cloud our mind to the point that we feel unable to do anything about it. I myself had falls and pains that have taken a long time to recover. I have also been down, but then I turned things around more quickly. Sam tried to console her. Okay, what would you like to have? She asked huskily. No, it's okay, Sam hesitated. No way, you must take something, coffee, tea, juice, or red drink, she persisted. Red drink? He weakly asked. Yes, the most favorite of mine. She smirked, and without replying, she stood on her feet and lumbered out of the room. Sam inspected the room where sitting on the left corner was an old vanity that had caught his attention. Next moment, he was looking his reflection in the ramshackle mirror. All of a sudden, he felt the earth moved under his feet when he felt a hand pressed his left shoulder from the back. He jumped and turned around frantically to see that nothing was there. Who is there? Who pressed my shoulder? He touched his left shoulder and whispered in the ear. No one was there. Next moment, the lady emerged with a tray bearing two glass tumblers filled with red drink. Why did you move in our room? Why did you look into our mirror? She snarled. I'm sorry, I just wanted to. He tried to apologize. You know, this is our room. Nobody moves here but we. Nobody looks into the mirror but we. You did it, you rascal. Okay, come and sit. She cooled herself down. We are hospitable by nature. We don't let our guests down. Drink it, cheers. She toasted her glass with it. Reluctantly, he took a sip. Oh, it tasted something revolting. What a horrible smell and taste it has, he thought to himself. What brought you here? She smirked without noticing a scowl on his face. Actually, for a couple of nights, since I moved house to this locality, I've been hearing some weird shrills from this house. Oh, so you are another volunteer or a representative from an NGO to find a solution for my woes. She raised her voice. No, I am a journalist and want to make a nice, catchy, creepy story to earn your high rating? Huh? She curtailed him with a snicker. I would be much, much grateful to you if you could just share something about yourself, he besieged her. Such an imploration was a unique episode she encountered in her life. Even though she never wanted to open up to anyone, she could not resist Sam, a very young, gentle, smart, and charming guy in front of her. How could she resist in a lonely environment when two young souls craving to grab each other's company? She pondered for some couple of moments and then sighed. I belong to a noble family. My father was a professor in a college. We were 3 female siblings. I was the eldest. I wanted to be a doctor, but unfortunately my father's untimely sad demise in an accident shattered our family. My mother had to take up a teaching job in a school to run the family. Since it was very hard for us to make both ends meet, I could not pursue medical qualification and simply ended up with teaching with my mother in her school. My youngest sister found a crush during her high schooling and tied a knot with her paramour. The middle one also married my cousin and shifted to another city. I was left alone with my mother. I had many proposals, but I did not want to leave my mom. I knew what a marriage requires, my obligations, and I did not want to bow to them, to leave my mom. Time passed like that. One day I encountered Joseph in a supermarket. He was a very good guy and accepted all my conditions to live with me and my mother after marriage. In 6 months, we got married, sold our house and bought this new house in this part of the city. Why were you so intent on selling that place? Sam interrupted. Joseph did not want to live in that old house so we moved here. Even I have put this house in escrow before of my debts. Anyway, it was just the first month of our shifting to this house and fourth month of our marriage when Joseph was out of the city for some business. One night, my deep slumber was tarnished by a nightmare. I opened my eyes and felt a heavy burden on my body. I could see nothing. I could hear nothing. Even I tried with all my strength, but I could not scream to wake my mom, who was sleeping in another room. I felt bound and gagged. I remained in trance for more than an hour. I cannot express how I felt. Again, in the middle of the night, the same happened. And then again and again, gradually it became so intoxicating that I began enjoying it. Every night I waited for the moment to overwhelm me. It was as if I was on drugs. Those were the moments of euphoria. I was as ecstatic as a clam without knowing its repercussions. That continued till Joseph returned. I could not face him. I felt why he came back. He should not be here. He should go away. Joseph felt a different behavior from me and asked me the reason, but I could say nothing because I was not in my control. I began resisting and blaming him that his presence hurt me. He complained this to my mom, who was already very sick and feeble. She counseled me a couple of times, but I imbibed nothing. I had developed within me a sort of loath against my husband for no reason. He had been very good with me, very caring, but I fell in restlessness when he was home. I craved that he should go away for longer and longer time and leave me alone to let me live on my own. I was in oblivion to enjoy being with myself. No one was mine. I was on my own. Did you consult any physician or a shrink? He intervened again. A mysterious smile spread across her face. Yes, we did. Joseph took me to many homeopathic, allopathic, Ayurvedic doctors, but I never followed their prescriptions regularly. I dodged my hubby by ensuring him repeatedly that I was taking pills, but I cheeked all my meds. In 4 years' time, I could not bear him any brood. I could not succeed to be his life companion. He tried hard, but I was reluctant. He bought me things, but I threw them away. He took me to dine out, but I criticized. He tried to get close to me, but I made faces. And then one day, being disheartened, he went out of the country on the pretext of some business and never returned. What? This is preposterous. Sam's eyes shot opened. In 6 months' time, we had no means of communication, and then I received the divorce papers with a letter bearing the details of my exotic and peculiar behavior. This did not shock me either. Did I shed up a drop of tear? Neither did I shed a drop of tear. I don't know why, but my mom could not stand it anymore. She suffered a few strokes, and one day she succumbed to the last one. After her sad demise, I was left alone, not only in this house, but in this entire world, because all my relatives, loved ones, reckoned me a maniac, a lunatic, or somatic patient, above all, an importunate numbskull. My sister had made a lot of efforts to medicalize my woes to them, but no worries to me. I never cooperated, and the situation was like an active witness with a lazy complainant. At last, being exhausted, they gave in. I was happy to be alone, to be in my own world. Would you like another glass of red? She asked, gawping at me, while he was drowned in the pool of his own contemplation. No thanks, just enough. Actually, I just want to take a glass of plain water, if you could. This red drink is, I don't know what to say. Sam refused her offer point blank without letting her complete. This red drink is from out of the world. I adore it. We crave for it. We relish it all the time. She chortled and left to get me water. In her absence, for a few seconds, he brooded. How a lady could be like her? I know her very well. She was an active student in school, taking part in all curricular and co-curricular activities with all her zeal and zest. What has happened to her now? What is her quandary? Why did she say we when she is living here alone? Is there a lad who only visits her at night? But then why does she wail? Maybe a demon? No. A supernatural can't have a relationship with a human. No way. Two different creatures. Such is a horror movie stuff, not in a real life. Anyway, I must diagnose and bring her to normality. I must reach a denouement. Sam committed to himself. In a few moments, Jennifer returned carrying a glass of plain water. Here you are. Are you in a relationship, Sam? Jennifer asked interestingly. No, not exactly, Sam lied, although he had been with Rebecca for 2 years. Have you been before? Jennifer threw another question. Yeah, but nothing worked well. I'm single now. In fact, I'm alone. I need a friend, a companion. Will you be one? Well, I don't mind. You were my schoolmate. It's okay to me, but things might not turn out to be the way you are thinking. She hesitated. Why not? Is there anyone else? I mean, are you in relationship with someone? Yes, I am. No, I am not. That's not called relationship. Human to human is a relationship. Jennifer gibberished. Considering Jennifer's mental condition not stable, Sam overlooked what she uttered. Even if there is, how can anyone else know what is best for you? No one knows what is best for you except you. It's only your right to decide what to do. Give me a break. Let me ponder on it. Jennifer spoke faintly. Come on, you are alone. You need someone you could share your grievances with, someone you could cherish with. Sam continued when he noticed Jennifer was speechless. I have an acquaintance, my late father's friend, Dr. Jerome. He is a shrink. I'll bring him here for your treatment. And please, you have to cooperate. Sam pleaded. Jennifer saw eye to eye with Sam, who then gulped the glass of water and stood on his feet. I got a split. For now, I must make haste. I am to report my office, but I'll come again with Dr. Jerome. Jennifer nodded meekly and smiled. Now that you can listen to the story in the next chapter, in the next video. Thank you very much.